The waiter placed the silver tray on the table, and the whole restaurant went quiet. I sat there, still in my work clothes, smelling like motor oil and cheap coffee, watching my sister squeal like she'd just won the lottery. In a way, she had. The kind of lottery where you're born first, born prettier, born into the right side of someone's twisted idea of love. A Tesla. Lydia's voice could have shattered glass. Oh my God, Dad, you didn't. But he did. Of course he did. My father stood up, straightening his navy blazer like he was about to accept an award. The other diners started clapping. I wanted to disappear into the leather booth. To my daughter, Victor Rourke announced, his voice carrying across Seraphine's like he owned the place. Maybe he did. He owned everything else. The one who represents our family name with grace, intelligence, and ambition. Enjoy your new Tesla Model S Plaid. $145,000. He said it 3 times, just to make sure everyone heard. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a napkin that probably cost more than my rent. You've earned every bit of it, darling. Earned it how? By existing? By being born with the right smile and the right ability to play their game? I sat there, hands folded in my lap, trying to remember why I'd agreed to come. Oh, right. Because they'd said it was important. Because somewhere deep in my stupid, hopeful heart, I thought maybe tonight would be different. Then my father's eyes landed on me. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family, enjoy the story. The temperature in the room dropped about 20 degrees when he looked at me. Or maybe that was just the coldness in his stare. And as for you, Callan, here we go. You're the biggest disgrace this family has ever seen. The clapping stopped. Forks paused halfway to mouths. Even the waiter froze. I should have been used to it by now. The comments. The comparisons. The way they looked at me like I was a stain on their perfect family portrait. But something about hearing it out loud, in front of strangers, in front of people who were now staring at me with a mixture of pity and secondhand embarrassment made something crack inside my chest. You chose mediocrity, he continued, and I realized he wasn't even trying to lower his voice. He wanted everyone to hear this. You turned your back on every opportunity we gave you. You chose to work in a garage like some common labor. My mother nodded, her pearls catching the candlelight. We didn't raise you to waste your life, Callan. Lydia had stopped squealing. She was watching me now, her new car keys dangling from her finger, a nervous smile playing at her lips like she couldn't decide if she should feel bad or just enjoy her moment. So let me make this very clear, my father said, leaning forward. Don't expect a single dime from us. You want to live like you're living? Fine. Be independent. But don't come crying to us when reality hits. My mother's voice was softer, but somehow worse. You don't deserve any help, Callan. You made your choice. The thing about humiliation is that it doesn't hit you all at once. It seeps in slowly, like water through a crack, filling up all the empty spaces inside you until you feel like you're drowning. But I didn't drown. I stood up. The chair scraped against the marble floor, loud in the silence. Every eye in that restaurant was on me. Judging.
Pitying.
Enjoying the show. I looked at my father, then at my mother, then at my sister, who couldn't quite meet my gaze. You're right, I said quietly. My voice didn't shake.
I was surprised by that.
I did make my choice. I buttoned my jacket, the one I'd bought secondhand because I couldn't afford new ones. The one with the small oil stain on the sleeve that wouldn't come out no matter how many times I washed it. Now watch what I do with it. I walked out of Seraphine's with my head high and my heart in pieces, past the doorman who held the door with careful sympathy, past the valet who pretended not to notice I'd taken the bus. The night air hit my face, and I finally let myself breathe. Behind me, through the restaurant's tall windows, I could see my family. My father had already sat back down. My mother was saying something to Lydia, probably smoothing things over, making excuses for why they had to be so harsh. Lydia was holding her new car keys like a trophy. They'd already moved on, but I hadn't. And I wouldn't, because something had shifted inside me during that dinner. Something dangerous and determined, and absolutely done with asking for their approval. They wanted independence? I'd give them independence they'd never forget. What would you do if your own family publicly humiliated you like this? Would you walk away or fight back? Drop your thoughts below. I didn't cry that night. That's what surprised me most. I sat on the edge of my bed in my tiny one-bedroom apartment, staring at the water stain on the ceiling that looked like a bird, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just this strange, hollow calm. My phone buzzed. Lydia's name flashed on the screen. I turned it face down. It buzzed again.
And again.
Then my mother. Then my father. I watched the phone light up like a Christmas tree, each notification a tiny explosion of guilt they were trying to plant in my chest. But I was done carrying their guilt. I'd been carrying it my whole life, and tonight, at that restaurant, I'd finally set it down. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the couple arguing upstairs. Mrs. Chun and her husband fought every Thursday. I'd gotten used to it, just like I'd gotten used to the leaky faucet, the broken heater, the way the floor creaked when you walked from the kitchen to the bathroom. This place was mine, though. Every dent, every stain, every problem.
Mine.
Not a gift. Not a handout.
Mine.
I picked up my phone and scrolled through the messages without opening them. Lydia, Cal, I'm so sorry. They went too far. Lydia, please just call me back. Lydia, I didn't ask for the car to hurt you. Mom, you embarrassed us tonight. Mom, call your father and apologize. Dad, your behavior was unacceptable. We'll discuss this when you're ready to act like an adult. I almost laughed at that last one. Act like an adult? I'd been acting like an adult since I was 16, working after school while Lydia got driven to dance practice. I'd been an adult when I paid my own college tuition while they funded Lydia's spring break trips to Cancun. I'd been an adult every single day they decided I wasn't worth their investment. My thumb hovered over the call button. For just a second, I considered it. Calling them. Apologizing. Playing the game one more time. Because that's what you do, right? Family is family. You swallow your pride, you bend, you make peace. But then I remembered my father's face. The way he'd smiled when he called me a disgrace. Like he enjoyed it. Like he'd been waiting years to say it out loud. I deleted every message. Then I opened my notes app and typed 4 words. They'll regret this. Not as a threat. As a promise. To myself. Have you ever had to choose between your pride and your family? What did you pick? Jarek's auto repair smelled like oil, rust, and burnt coffee. I showed up at 6 in the morning, same as always, even though I'd barely slept. Jarek was already there, bent over the hood of a '67 Mustang, his weathered hands moving with the kind of precision that only comes from decades of practice. You look like hell, he said without looking up. Thanks, Jarek. You really know how to make a girl feel special. He grunted, which was basically his version of a laugh. Bad night. Something like that. I grabbed my tools and got to work on the Honda in Bay 2. Transmission issue. The owner had taken it to 3 other shops and they'd all quoted him ridiculous prices. We do it for half that, and do it better. That was Jarek's philosophy. Do good work. Charge fair prices. Build trust. You know what your problem is? Jarek said an hour later, wiping his hands on a rag that had probably been white once, a decade ago. I have a feeling you're about to tell me. You're too good at this. He gestured around the garage. You got hands that can fix anything. Brain that understands how things work. But you're hiding here. I tightened a bolt, harder than necessary. I'm not hiding. I'm working.
Working, yes.
Building?
No.
He walked over, leaned against the Honda. My father, back in Poland, he was best carpenter in our village. Everyone wanted him to build their houses, their furniture. You know what he told me? What? He said, skill is good, Jarek. But skill without vision? That makes you someone else's tool forever. I stopped working.
Set down my wrench.
You think I don't have vision? I think you have vision, Jarek said. I think you're scared of it. The words hit harder than my father's insults. Because Jarek wasn't trying to hurt me. He was trying to wake me up. What if I told you, I said slowly, that I want to start my own company? Not a garage. Something bigger. His eyes lit up. Then I'd say it's about damn time. What if I told you I want to restore old buildings? Turn them into something people would pay millions for? I'd say you're crazy. He grinned. But crazy people change the world. Safe people just watch. I looked around the garage. It had been my home for 3 years. My safety net. My excuse. But Yarrick was right. I wasn't building anything here. I was just surviving. I'm going to do it, I said. The words came out stronger than I expected. I'm going to start my own restoration company. Yarrick nodded, like he'd known this was coming all along. Then stop talking and start planning. Vision without action is just expensive daydream. That night, I went home and didn't turn on the TV. Didn't scroll through social media. I sat at my kitchen table with a notebook and wrote down everything I knew about construction, design, real estate, business. It wasn't much, but it was a start. And sometimes a start is all you need. What's that dream you keep putting off? Drop it in the comments. You want to borrow how much? The banker looked at me like I just asked him to fund a trip to Mars. 80,000, I repeated, for a property purchase and renovation. He glanced at my loan application, then back at me. His expression said everything his professional tone wouldn't. Miss Rourke, your credit is decent, but your income doesn't support this kind of loan. What collateral can you offer? My work ethic? He didn't smile. That was meeting number 7. 7 banks. 7 rejections. Each one a little more condescending than the last. I spent 6 months like this. Working at Jarrex during the day, teaching myself everything about real estate at night. I watched YouTube videos on property valuation, read books about historic restoration, studied design portfolios until my eyes burned. I saved every dollar, stopped eating out, canceled my streaming subscriptions, wore the same 3 outfits on rotation. My coworkers probably thought I was broke. They were right, but I was the kind of broke that was going somewhere. Then Marcus called. Marcus Chen, Mrs. Chen's son from upstairs. We'd known each other for years, ever since I'd helped him fix his motorcycle. He worked in real estate, flipping houses with his brother. Cal, I heard you're looking for a project. Word travels fast. In this business? Always.
He paused.
Look, I got something. It's a mess. Like a serious mess. Victorian house over on Ashwood. Been sitting empty for 4 years. Owner died, family fighting over the estate. Place is basically falling apart. My heart started racing. How much? 45,000. But Cal, I'm serious. This thing is rough. Roof's half gone. Foundation issues. Most people would tear it down. Can I see it? We met there the next day. Marcus wasn't lying. The house was a disaster. Broken windows. Overgrown yard. Walls stained with water damage. The porch looked like it might collapse if you breathed on it wrong. I walked through every room, touched every wall, imagined what it could be. You're insane if you buy this, Marcus said, kicking at a loose floorboard. Probably. I turned in a slow circle, seeing past the decay. High ceilings. Original crown molding. Hardwood under the rot. Bones that were solid, just forgotten. But insanity and vision look pretty similar from the outside. You got the money? I had 38,000 saved. I'd need another 7 just to close, plus at least 30 more for materials and labor. I'll figure it out. Marcus studied my face. You're serious. Dead serious.
He pulled out his phone.
My brother and I might be able to help. We're looking for a new project manager. Someone who knows construction, has vision, isn't afraid to get their hands dirty. Job pays 15 an hour, but we'd front you the closing costs as a signing bonus. 7,000. You do good work on our projects for 6 months. We'll loan you 30,000 for materials. Interest-free. I stared at him. Why would you do that? Because my mom says you're the hardest worker in that building. Because I watched you rebuild my bike from scraps. Because everyone deserves a shot. He extended his hand. What do you say? I shook it. Hard. I say you just made the best investment of your life. 3 weeks later, I signed the papers. The house was mine. I stood in the empty living room, dust floating in the sunlight coming through broken windows, and whispered to the walls, "This ruin is going to make me." The house didn't answer, but I swear I felt it listening. When was the last time you bet everything on yourself?
Tell me about it.
Month 1. I worked 16-hour days. Jarek's garage from 6 to 2. Marcus's projects from 3 to 6. My Victorian from 7 until midnight. Sleep became optional. Food became fuel. Everything else became noise. My hands turned rough. Calluses on top of calluses. I learned to swing a hammer until my arms shook. Learned to tile a floor on my knees until they bled. Learned that YouTube could teach you anything if you were desperate enough to learn. The house fought me every step. When I fixed the roof, the plumbing burst. When I fixed the plumbing, I found mold in the walls. When I tore out the walls, I discovered the electrical was a fire hazard waiting to happen. But slowly, painfully, it started to transform. I ripped out everything damaged and saved everything beautiful. The original fireplace. The stained glass window on a landing. The clawfoot tub someone had painted over 17 times. Month 3. Marcus's brother, David, stopped by to check my progress. He walked through in silence, hands in his pockets, face unreadable. "So," I said, heart pounding. "What do you think?" "I think you're crazy."
He paused.
"I also think you're brilliant. Keep going." He left me a check for another $15,000. For materials. "You've earned it." Month 5. The house started looking like a house again instead of a crime scene. I'd refinished the hardwood floors myself, watched 100 tutorials on how to make the stain even, restored the crown molding piece by piece, installed new windows that looked old. Every detail mattered. Every corner told a story. People started noticing. The neighbors would slow down when they drove past. A local blogger featured it in her Hidden Gems of Renovation post. Someone from a real estate magazine called asking for an interview. "Not yet," I told them all. "Call me when it's finished." Month 8. I installed the last light fixture. It was 2 in the morning. I was covered in plaster dust and paint. My back ached. My fingers were stiff. But when I flipped the switch and the chandelier lit up the restored entrance hall, I actually gasped. It was beautiful. Not just nice. Not just decent. Beautiful. I'd done that.
Me.
The disgrace. The one who didn't deserve help. I took photos with my phone, each angle better than the last, then sat on the stairs and just stared. My phone buzzed. "Marcus. Listing agent wants to see it tomorrow. You ready?" Born ready. The agent was a woman named Patricia who'd been selling high-end properties for 30 years. She walked through the house with a poker face, taking notes, saying nothing. When she finished, she turned to me. "Who did the restoration?" "I did." Her eyebrows went up. "All of it." "Most of it." "Had help with electrical and major plumbing." "And you've never done this before?" "First time." She looked back at the house, touched the banister, studied the molding. "I can list this for $3.2 million. My heart stopped. "I'm sorry, what?" 3.2. Maybe 3.4, if we get the right buyers. This is exceptional work. The house sold in 6 days for $3.4 million. After closing costs, Marcus's loans, materials, and fees, I walked away with $2.1 million. $2.1 million. I sat in my apartment that night, the check on my table, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So I did both.
My phone rang.
Unknown number. "Is this Callan Rourke?" Speaking. "My name is Jennifer Walsh. I saw what you did with the Victorian on Ashwood. My husband and I have a property that needs similar work. Much bigger project. Would you be interested?" I grabbed a pen. "Tell me everything." By morning, I had 3 more calls. By the end of the week, I had a waiting list. I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, looked at myself, really looked, and said out loud, "Rourke Restorations. That's the name. Independent. And unstoppable. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken? Did it pay off?" The architect spread the blueprints across my desk. $9 million, he said. "That's what you're looking at, all in. Maybe 10, if you want the smart home features." I stared at the drawings. Glass walls facing the ocean. Infinity pool that looked like it poured into the bay. 3 stories of pure, modern luxury perched on a cliff like a crown. And you're sure about the location? Marlow Bay? Best ocean view in the state. The lot alone is worth $2 million. I'd been running Rourke restorations for 3 years. 32 projects completed. Each one bigger than the last. My team had grown from just me to 15 people. Architects, designers, contractors who believed in the vision. But this project was different. This wasn't for client. This was for me.
Do it, I said.
But I want to be involved in every decision. Every tile, every fixture, every paint color. He grinned. Wouldn't expect anything less. The construction took 14 months. I was there almost every day, watching it rise from bare land into something that took my breath away. Every sunset through those glass walls felt like proof. Proof that I'd made it. Proof that independence wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. The day the contractors finished, I walked through alone. My footsteps echoed on the marble floors. The ocean crashed against the rocks below. Late afternoon light poured through the windows, painting everything gold. I stood in the living room, my reflection caught in the glass, and for the first time in years, I barely recognized myself. Not because I looked different, but because I felt different. I wasn't that girl from the restaurant anymore. The one who'd walked out humiliated, broke, angry. I was someone who'd built her own table. My phone buzzed. A text from my assistant. Gate system installed. Your name's on the entrance, like you wanted. I smiled. Callan Rourke. Right there on the front gate for everyone to see. Let them see it.
I moved in that weekend.
No housewarming party. No announcement. Just me, my boxes, and the best view money could buy. 3 days later, my phone lit up. Lydia, Cal? Are you living at Marlow Bay? I sat on my balcony, wine glass in hand, and typed back slowly. Why do you ask? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared.
Appeared again.
Lydia, because I just drove past a mansion with your name on the gate. Please tell me that's not real. I didn't respond. Just set my phone down and watched the sun sink into the ocean. An hour later, my father called. I let it ring twice before answering. Callan. His voice was tight, controlled. Your sister just called me crying. She says she saw your name on a $9 million estate. What kind of game are you playing? No game, Dad. Just life. You expect me to believe you bought that yourself? I took a sip of wine. Let the silence stretch. Yes. That's impossible. Where did you get that kind of money? I earned it. Every single dollar. No handouts. No inheritance. Just the independence you told me to have. He was quiet for so long I thought he'd hung up. You think you're better than us now? His voice cracked slightly. Just slightly. No, I said softly. I think I'm freer. I hung up before he could respond. That night, I slept in my own mansion, in a bed I'd bought myself, under a roof I'd paid for, and I didn't dream once about that restaurant. Have you ever proven someone wrong just by succeeding? How did it feel? My father called 6 more times that week. I ignored all of them. Then my mother started texting. Mom, Callan, we need to talk about this situation. Mom, your father is very upset. Mom, this is childish. Family doesn't treat family this way. I almost laughed at that last one. Family doesn't treat family this way? Where was that energy at Seraphine's when they called me a disgrace in front of 50 strangers? On day 8, someone rang my gate. I checked the camera. White Tesla. Lydia. For a moment, I considered just ignoring it. But something made me press the intercom button. What do you want, Lydia? Her voice came through shaky. Can we talk? Please. I buzzed her in. She pulled up the driveway slowly, like she was afraid the house might disappear if she drove too fast. When she got out of the car, her makeup was smudged. She'd been crying. Nice car, I said from the doorway. She flinched. Cal, I didn't come here to fight. Then why did you come? Because I don't understand. She gestured to the house, the grounds, the view. How did you do this? I leaned against the doorframe. You really want to know? Yes. I worked every single day for 5 years. While you were posting vacation photos, I was covered in plaster dust. While you were getting manicures with Mom, I was learning to wire electrical panels. While Dad was buying you that Tesla, I was saving every dollar to buy my freedom. Her face crumpled. It's not fair. What's not fair? That you get to have all this. Her voice rose. I did everything they wanted. I played by their rules. I was perfect. And you just left and somehow you win. This isn't about winning, Lydia. Then what is it about? It's about not needing their approval to be successful. I softened slightly. You're still waiting for them to tell you you're enough. I stopped waiting. She pulled out her phone, hand shaking, and called our father right there on my driveway.
Dad.
Her voice broke. I'm at her house. The mansion. It's real. It's all real. I couldn't hear his response, but I watched her face change. But why does she get to have this? Tears streamed down her cheeks. Why her and not me? I did everything right. She listened. Then her expression shifted from hurt to something else. Realization, maybe. No, she said quietly. No, Dad, you're wrong. She didn't get lucky. She worked for this. She hung up, looked at me with red, swollen eyes. He said you must have cheated somehow. Or married rich. Or had help you're not admitting to. She wiped her face. But you didn't, did you?
No.
You really did this alone. I had help from people who believed in me. But no family money, if that's what you're asking. Lydia nodded slowly, looking back at her Tesla like she was seeing it for the first time. A gift. A pretty cage. A prize for obedience. I should go, she whispered. Lydia. She stopped. You can build your own table too. You just have to be willing to leave theirs first. She drove away, without responding. I watched her taillights disappear down the driveway and felt something unexpected. Not victory. Not revenge. Just sadness for the girl who thought love came with a price tag. Would you rather have everything handed to you, or earn it yourself?
Why?
The calls kept coming. Dad, Callan, we may have been too harsh. Dad, let's talk like adults. Mom, you've proven yourself, sweetheart. Maybe we can start over. Mom, family is family. Don't throw that away. I read each message and deleted it. Starting over would mean pretending the past didn't happen. It would mean sitting at their table again, pretending the words they'd said didn't still echo in my head. No thank you. Instead, I threw myself into work. Rourke Restorations was booming. We had projects in 3 states now. Historic mansions, modern builds, luxury renovations. My team was the best in the business because I only hired people who understood that buildings weren't just structures, they were stories. Every project was a middle finger to everyone who'd said I couldn't. 6 months after Lydia's visit, I got an interview request from Forbes. They wanted to feature me in their 30 Under 30 issue. The title they pitched, The Woman Who Built Her Fortune from Rejection. I almost said no. But then I thought, why not? Why not let everyone see what rejection can build when you refuse to stay down? The interview ran in March. My face on the cover, standing in front of my Marlow Bay mansion, arms crossed, slight smile. The headline, How Callan Rourke Turned Family Rejection into a Multi-million-dollar Empire. My phone exploded. Interview requests. Speaking opportunities. Clients who'd been on the fence suddenly desperate to work with me. The business tripled in size within 2 months. But the strangest thing was the silence from my family. No congratulations. No acknowledgement. Nothing. It was like they were waiting for me to fail, so they could be right about me. Except I wasn't failing. One evening, I decided to do something I'd been thinking about for months. I drove back to Seraphine's. The restaurant looked exactly the same. Same awning. Same doorman. Same overpriced menu, probably. I walked in wearing a simple black dress and the confidence of someone who'd earned every dollar in her bank account. Table for one, I told the host. Right this way, Mississippi. He led me to a booth. Not the same one, but close enough. I ordered the most expensive thing on the menu. A steak that cost $200. Wine that cost $300. When the waiter brought it, I raised my glass to the empty seat across from me. To the girl who walked out of here humiliated, I whispered, "Look at you now." The steak was okay. Not worth $200. But that wasn't the point. Halfway through dinner, an envelope arrived at my table. From an admirer, the waiter said, looking confused. I opened it. Handwritten note. My father's writing. "I see your company's projects everywhere now. You've done what I never could. I'm proud of you, even if I'll never understand you." No signature. Just those words. I read it 3 times.
Proud.
He was proud. I waited to feel something. Vindication, maybe.
Victory.
That rush of "I told you so" that I'd imagined 1,000 times. But I just felt tired. Too late, I thought. Years too late. I tucked the letter in my purse, finished my wine, and paid the check. $340. Didn't even make a dent in my account. Walking out, I passed the booth where they'd humiliated me.
A family sat there now.
Laughing.
Happy.
I hoped they were kinder to each other than mine had been to me. Outside, the doorman smiled. "Have a good evening, Miss Rourke." He knew my name.
Of course he did.
Everyone knew it now. "You too," I said. I drove home along the coast, windows down, music up, feeling something I hadn't felt in years.
Free.
Finally, completely free. When did you realize you didn't need someone's approval anymore? Share your moment below. Planning a charity gala wasn't something I ever thought I'd do. But when you have a mansion and a story, people expect you to use both for good. "We could host 100 people easy," my event planner said, walking through the house with a tablet. "The ocean view alone will get people talking." "I don't want it to be about showing off," I said. "I want it to mean something." "What's the cause?" I thought about that dinner. About being told I wasn't worth investing in. About every person who'd been rejected by the people who were supposed to support them. People starting over. Single parents trying to build businesses. Kids aging out of foster care who need capital to start their lives. Anyone who's been told they don't deserve help. She stopped walking, looked at me. "That's personal." "Very." We sent invitations to 100 people. Small business owners I'd met through my projects. Young entrepreneurs I'd mentored. People who understood what it meant to build something from nothing. The night of the gala, I stood on my balcony watching guests arrive. No fancy cars. No designer labels. Just people who'd fought for every inch of their success. Marcus and David Chin came. Yerrick showed up in a suit that looked like he'd bought it in 1987, but he was beaming. My whole team was there. Not a single member of my biological family got an invitation. When everyone was seated, I stood to give my speech. My hands shook. Public speaking still terrified me. 5 years ago, I started. Someone told me I was a disgrace. That I didn't deserve help. That I should be independent. The room went quiet. They meant it as an insult. But I heard it as a challenge. I looked around at every face. Independence isn't rejection. It's redirection. It's the art of creating what others denied you. The people who said you couldn't are the ones who gave you the reason to. Someone started clapping. Then another. Then the whole room. After the speech, people came up to share their stories. A woman who'd started a bakery after her family said she'd fail. A man who'd built a tech company after being laughed out of investor meetings. A kid barely 20 who'd left home with nothing and now ran a successful design firm. Every story was different. Every story was the same. We'd all been underestimated. We'd all proven them wrong. Late in the evening, I stood by the windows, watching the ocean, when Yerrick appeared beside me. "You did good, kid," he said. "We did good," I corrected. "You taught me everything. I taught you how to fix cars. You taught yourself how to build empires." He clinked his glass against mine. "That's all you." After everyone left, I walked through the empty house. Champagne glasses scattered on tables. The smell of expensive catering hanging in the air. This was what success felt like. Not lonely. Not cold. Just quiet. Peaceful. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Saw your Forbes article. Saw the photos from your gala. You've built something beautiful. I wish I'd supported you from the start, but I'm glad you didn't need me to.
V. Victor.
My father. I stared at the message for a long time.
Part of me wanted to respond.
To finally have the conversation we should have had years ago. But the bigger part of me knew that some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. I deleted the message. Then I poured myself one last glass of champagne, walked out to the infinity pool, and sat with my feet in the water. The ocean stretched forever. Dark and endless and full of possibility. I'd built my empire from rejection. From pain. From that dinner table where they'd tried to break me. But I wasn't broken. I was free. And freedom, I'd learned, was the best revenge of all. What would you say to the younger version of yourself who is struggling? Drop your message of hope below. 3 years later, I sat in my office overlooking the bay. Rourke Restorations had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. 50 employees. Projects in 7 states. A waiting list 2 years long. We'd restored mansions, built modern estates, and turned forgotten buildings into architectural masterpieces. But the work that meant most wasn't the biggest projects. It was the scholarship program I'd started. Full funding for kids from difficult families who wanted to study architecture, design, or construction. No strings attached. Just belief. You have a visitor, my assistant said through the intercom. I'm not expecting anyone. She says she's your sister. I hadn't seen Lydia in 3 years. Not since that day on my driveway. Send her in. She walked in looking different. Hair shorter. Less makeup. Jeans instead of designer clothes. She carried a portfolio under her arm. Hi, Cal. Lydia. I'm not here to ask for anything, she said quickly. I just wanted to show you something. She opened the portfolio. Photographs. Beautiful, raw, honest photographs of abandoned buildings. Broken windows catching light. Graffiti that looked like art. Decay that somehow looked hopeful. I've been taking classes, she said quietly. Photography. Architecture. I left Mom and Dad's house 8 months ago. Got my own apartment. Started working. I looked through every photo. They were good. Really good. Why are you showing me these? Because you were right. I was sitting at their table waiting for permission to live my life. So I left. And it's hard and scary, and I'm broke most of the time. She smiled, small and genuine. But I'm building my own table now. Like you said. Something shifted in my chest. Not forgiveness exactly, but recognition. These are incredible, I said. Thank you. Are you looking for work? Her eyes widened. I wasn't. I didn't come here to. I'm serious. I need someone to document our projects. Before, during, after. Turn them into stories. Interested. You'd hire me? Not because you're my sister. Because you're talented. But you'd start at entry level. Same as everyone else. Tears pooled in her eyes. I'd like that. We talked for an hour. About her leaving. About our parents' reaction. About how hard it was to rebuild your life when you'd let someone else build it for you. They ask about you sometimes, she said. Mom especially. And I tell them you're thriving. That you don't need them. That maybe they should have seen what I finally saw, that you were always the strong one.
I didn't respond to that.
When she left, portfolio tucked under her arm and a job offer in hand, I sat in my office and thought about beginnings. How mine started with rejection. How hers started with realization. Different paths. Same destination. Freedom. That night, I hosted a small dinner at my house.
Not a gala.
Just friends. The people who'd believed in me when I had nothing. Yaruk brought his wife. Marcus and David brought their families. My entire team showed up with wine and stories. We sat around my dining table, the one I'd built, and laughed until our sides hurt. This was family. Not blood. Not obligation.
Choice.
At the end of the night, someone asked me the question everyone always asked. Do you ever regret how things went with your parents? I thought about it. Really thought. No, I said finally. Because if they'd supported me, I would have built their dream, not mine. The rejection forced me to become who I was supposed to be. As everyone left, I stood on my balcony one last time, looking at the view that never got old. Somewhere out there, in a restaurant probably just like Seraphine's, someone was being told they weren't good enough, that they didn't deserve help, that they were a disgrace. And maybe, just maybe, they'd hear it as a challenge instead of a sentence. Maybe they'd walk out and build their own table too. Because that's the thing about rejection. It either destroys you or defines you. I chose definition, and I'd choose it again every single time. Thank you for watching this journey from rejection to redemption. If this story inspired you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our next powerful story. Drop a comment below sharing your own journey of overcoming doubt and building your dreams. Your story could inspire someone who needs to hear it today. Remember, the best revenge isn't destruction, it's demonstration. Now go build your table.